So I got a comment a little while ago from a viewer who was talking about the possibility of the perfect phone being a smartphone. They said, I think all-in-one devices would be great if only they were made in good faith and with the best of intentions. So I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately, and I decided to make a video on this because I think it is an interesting idea. A lot of people who are seeking out something in the dumb phones, right? They're looking for the perfect dumb phone. They want to be able to operate in a smart world but feel not distracted. So they move to something like a dumb phone. Oftentimes people find when they switch to something like that though, that it just doesn't cut it. It can't be used in the applications that we need to have a smartphone for nowadays in our world. Most people have some one situation in their lives where they feel that they need a smartphone and that they can't substitute it for anything less. I, for one, work in the film industry, and a lot of times we have to control cameras and gimbals, monitors even, through our smartphones. So there's certain apps that need to be available for doing things like that. Other people are in a similar boat where their job is in some way linked between owning and using a smartphone. And you could have two separate devices, flip back and forth your SIM card in and out and use a dumb phone on the weekends or whatever it is. That's something that I use, but I always do have a little bit of a clunkiness in the process of having to switch back and forth. My contacts haven't all moved over. There's been little issues like that where I get a random text or somebody tells me, hey, your texts have been, every time I text you, it's bouncing back, it's not going through. There's been issues when I try to adopt a device only part-time. I'm never really fully in one camp or the other, and then you end up kind of falling somewhere in the middle. And I mean falling, you stumble. It doesn't always work out. It would be nice because most people, when they're looking for dumb phones, they complain that the perfect dumb phone doesn't yet exist. I complain about that myself. I look at different models of dumb phones that are released already, and everybody wants certain other features that aren't present in the phone. For the Punked MPO2, the perfect dumb phone would mean having a GPS in it, maybe having access to podcasts, being able to access the internet for the odd thing, or group chats, something like that. For the light phone, which has navigation and it has access to podcasts, they would want maybe some sort of access to Spotify or something like that, or to have maybe a messenger service like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger accessible to them and not the actual social media element of Facebook itself. The problem is that people are always talking about that one feature that's missing in a dumb phone that would make it the perfect phone. But oftentimes that would just make it a smartphone again. So what's wrong with the smartphone then if all of the features that we want, we already have here in a smartphone? It's the fact that the smartphone is so distracting. As the commenter said, the all-in-one device of the smartphone is probably possible. It's just not being made because the people who are making it maybe aren't acting in good faith. So what I responded to this person saying was exactly, but the profit motive and ad-based model for everything prevents that, I fear. If collecting and selling data is the ways for companies to make their money, then they need all of these all-in-one devices to be as compelling as possible in order to encourage us to use them. And unfortunately, their main tool to do that is distraction. Really, what I'm saying here is that the perfect smartphone could exist because the perfect smartphone isn't adding any features. I don't need a better camera in this phone. This is an iPhone 11. I don't need a better camera in this phone. I don't need it to be faster. I don't need the screen to be bigger or smaller. It works with all the apps I use. Everything's fine with this phone. It does everything I want it to do, but the one thing that it does that I don't want it to do is it's very distracting, and it's distracting by design. Companies employ psychologists to work for them in order to best all of your better judgment and willpower that you think you have in order to get you to pick up your phone, in order to get you to pay attention and be affected by ads that they send you. And they're doing their best to get you to pick up that device as much as possible. Because companies make their money by selling your data to other companies, to marketing, to the companies that wish to market to you. They sell your data. So they want you to be inputting data by using the phone as much as they can get you to do. So by making an all-in-one device compelling, it's compelling on its own because it solves so many problems being an all-in-one device. but going even further than that by sending you notifications, by having your ego and your self-esteem all tied up in things like social media with a like button, things like this. So you would use Facebook as much as possible so they can show you advertisers, and so they can take as much as your behavioral information that they can get, and your GPS habits as they are location tracking you for the betterment of you, they say. They're taking all of this information and then they're using it to sell back to you. So you go buy random products that you most likely don't need. And as long as that is the motive for profit, as long as that is the way that our society, the world goes around, I don't think there can be a good smartphone. I don't think the perfect smartphone can exist in that system. Now, what do I think is the solution to that? Because as I'm saying, I don't think there's another feature I want in here. I don't need LiDAR. I don't even need USB-C, even though that would be nice. There's nothing else I need in this product, truly, other than the fact that I find it so distracting. I wish it wasn't that. How can we avoid something like that in a device like this? Is there any way for that to happen under our current economic system? The answer is I don't think so. I don't think it actually is feasible that it could be implemented, but if it was to be implemented, I think the way to go about it is this. I think what we need to do is we need to see more pay-to-play models. You're not going to like this. Ultimately, what it requires is for more things to have a cost associated with it and to maybe become subscription-based things. Instagram and Facebook wouldn't have incentives to track all of your data to sell it to advertisers if they didn't need the money from the advertisers to run their apps. That is their main economic driver, which is ads and selling our data for more ads. So I think if you were to pay, let's say, I don't know, $5 a month people would maybe pay. I don't know how many users Facebook has, probably like 1 billion users or something like that. Well, then they have $5 billion coming in per month. I think that would be okay. I think they'd be able to operate on this. The problem is, would consumers find that okay? I think what it would really do is it would force people to be more intentional with their consumption than they ever have been. It would for sure change people's habits because you maybe wouldn't want to have Instagram and Facebook and whatever other social media, Twitter or whatever it is, if they all had a cost associated with it, because pretty soon that would just be like having multiple subscriptions of anything else. You're going to have 20 to even 50 to more dollars that you're paying per month to use these services. Potentially that would mean that people would choose to use less of these services. And you would also find less distraction in that because there's a cost associated with it. You have a certain amount of financial responsibility to these apps to actually pay to use them. You need to be sure that you're getting the value out of each of them in order to continue to pay for them. So I think even that itself would allow companies to profit, but it would also allow consumers to cut down on the amount, at least hone in their focus on what apps they're giving their time to and find out if they were truly beneficial. So I do think that would be the way to go. I think if we were going to do anything like this, I think if the perfect phone was to exist, you would have to pay for a lot more things. But I don't know if people would really go for that because we're used to this free world, really. Like everything on the internet is free. And for good reason, educational things should be free, I think, to the masses, but certain things, they're given to us free because we are the product, as you've heard tons of times, ad nauseum, I would say you've heard, that we are not the customer, we are the product to these companies. And the problem with that is that we have come to expect that everything's free. If we had an extra $50 a month of social media and other types of app costs that we weren't expecting to have, yeah, people would be pretty upset about that. I don't think people would really go along with it at first. But that maybe would be the only way to get the ad incentive out of the whole picture. I like technology, okay? I'm not just talking about this stuff because I want to go back to some I don't know, medieval times thing where we only have the mace and the broadsword. I like certain technologies. I am a bit skeptical of certain technologies, but on the whole, I am happy to embrace technology and use the beneficial things that, improve my life and then turn away the things that don't. And I guess the smartphone itself, the tool of the smartphone is very beneficial. I appreciate the tool of the smartphone for a lot of different reasons, but it is also got a lot of downsides, and that all comes from the profit incentive that drives these companies and that just drives our economic system in general. So I think for the perfect smartphone to exist, that all has to change. Could that change? I don't know. It would take a very long time if it is going to change. I know that we can change individual people's minds. We can change our own minds. We can talk to people and educate people and change the minds of those around us. But systemic big change has to happen. And for that to happen on the individual level, I mean, it takes a very long time because it's going to take a lot of people waking up to these things, changing their habits, over generations before we see a big model change like that actually take place, I think. And this goes deeper than the smartphone. This is our entire economic system. I mean, I'm running ads on my YouTube videos. Everybody who does this kind of stuff puts ads on their videos, or they do some sort of ad deal at some point where they're mentioning a sponsor. Ads and selling things is the way that our economic system is. I mean, it's easy for me to critique it, but then it's actually hard to make this broad change because, you know, I need to eat. People at these companies, they need to make a buck, and it's hard to get people to pay for something now when we have spent so much time being used to getting these things for free, but with the cost of ads. So that's about it for today, guys. Just my thoughts on why I think that the perfect smartphone might already be here. It might be the phone that you have in your hand or in your pocket. And I don't think that this phone is the problem. I think it's the ad model. I think it's the way that our economy is set up. I'm just saying that I think we as a species could move in a better direction with this, and it's not in distracting each other. The internet is a wonderful tool that has set us free and allowed education to be given to the masses in a lot of ways. I love the internet. However, the distraction associated with it, it's hard to turn our eyes away from it because it is clear that people are suffering from this. It is clear based on the people who watch this video that people find it distracting and they want some reprieve from this distraction. And I think that switching the model is maybe the only way to make that happen. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you think that I'm onto something or if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear from you either way. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.